This is English shorthand dictation number 302, and the dictation speed is 100 words per minute. Ready? Start. India attained independence on 15th of August 1947. This was the moment Indians had been waiting for. We have read in history that there were many voices in our national movement. But there were two goals almost everyone agreed upon. One, that after independence we shall run our country through democratic government, and two, that the government will be run for the good of all, particularly the poor and the socially disadvantaged groups. Now that the country was independent, the time had come to realize the promise of freedom. This was not going to be easy. India was born in very difficult circumstances. Perhaps no other country by then was born in a situation more difficult than that of India in 1947. Freedom came with the partition of the country. The year 1947 was a year of unprecedented violence and trauma of displacement. It was in this situation that independent India started on its journey to achieve several objectives. Yet the turmoil that accompanied independence did not make our leaders lose sight of the multiple challenges that faced the new nation. Broadly, independent India faced three kinds of challenges. The first and the immediate challenge was to shape a nation that was united yet accommodative of the diversity in our society. India was a land of continental size and diversity. Its people spoke different languages and followed different cultures and religions. At that time, it was widely believed that a country full of such kinds of diversity could not remain together for long. The partition of the country appeared to prove everyone's worst fears. There were serious questions about the future of India. Would India survive as a unified country? Would it do so by emphasizing national unity at the cost of every other objective? Would it mean rejecting all religion identities? There was an urgent question: how was integration of the territory of India to be achieved? The second challenge was to establish democracy. We know that the Constitution granted fundamental rights and extended the right to vote to every citizen. India adopted representative democracy based on the parliamentary form of government. These features ensure that the political competition would take place in a democratic framework. A democratic constitution is necessary but not sufficient for establishing a democracy. The challenge was to develop democratic practices in accordance with the constitution. The third challenge was to ensure the development and well being of the entire society and not only of some sections. Here again, the Constitution clearly laid down the principle of equality and special protection to socially disadvantaged groups and religious and cultural communities. The Constitution also set out in the directive principles of state policy the welfare goals that democratic politics must achieve. The real challenge now was to evolve effective policies for economic development and eradication of poverty. How did independent India respond to these challenges? To what extent did India succeed in achieving the various objectives set out by the Constitution? This entire book is an attempt to respond to these questions. The book tells the story of politics in India since independence so as to equip you to develop your own answers to big questions like these. First, we look at how the three challenges mentioned above were faced in the early years after independence. We focus on the first challenge of nation building that occupied center stage in the years immediately after independence. We begin by looking at the events that formed the context of independence. This can help us understand why the issue of national unity and security became a primary challenge at the time of independence. We shall then see how India chose to shape itself into a nation united by a shared history and common destiny. This unity had to reflect the aspirations of people across the different regions and deal with the disparities that existed among regions and different sections of people. Then we shall turn to the challenge of establishing a democracy and achieving economic development with equality and justice. In August 1947, not one but two nation states came into existence, India and Pakistan. This was a result of partition, the division of British India into India and Pakistan. The drawing of the border demarcating the territory of each country marked the culmination of political developments that you have read about in the history textbooks. According to the two nation theory advanced by the Muslim League, India consisted of not one but two people, Hindus and Muslims. That is why it demanded Pakistan, a separate country for the Muslims. The Congress opposed this theory and the demand for Pakistan. But several political developments in 1940s, the political competition between the Congress and the Muslim League and the British role led to the decision for the creation of Pakistan. Thus, it was decided that what was till then known as India would be divided into two countries, India and Pakistan. Such a division was not only very painful but also very difficult to decide and implement. It was decided to follow the principle of religious majorities. This basically means that areas where the Muslims were in majority would make up the territory of Pakistan. The rest was to stay with India. The idea might appear simple, but it presented all kinds of difficulties. First of all, there was no single belt of Muslim majority areas in British India. There were two areas of concentration, one in the west and one in the east. There was no way these two parts could be joined. So it was decided that the new country, Pakistan, will comprise two territories, West and East Pakistan, separated by a long expanse of Indian territory. Secondly, not all Muslim majority areas wanted to be in Pakistan. The northwestern frontier province was staunchly opposed to the two nation theory. Eventually, its voice was simply ignored, and the northwestern frontier province was made to merge with Pakistan.